with jellyfish, which she talks about, sharks, which she talks about, in and out of the water. Just, it's a great interview. She's a great lady. And on that Leaving Nothing to Chance podcast site, you're going to find interviews with Foster Owusu, another great man, with Giancarlo Torres and Mary Lou Torres, his mom, great family. Okay, these are Immunotech people. You're going to find some interviews with people outside of Immunotech, like Jeff Weisberg, leader in the industry for many years, Arlene Lowy, same. This coming week, Dr. Tracy Jones, Joe Garcia, and other leaders in the network marketing space. And about every 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, there's no real rules to this stuff. I make it up as I go, as you can probably tell. But there's no real rules to it. But I'm going to bring on some interesting motivational people. Now she's not a, folks. You got to hit mute, please. Okay, we have a lot of people on today, and everybody needs to benefit from who's speaking at the time. Anyway, go there when you get a chance. Okay, every Tuesday we have a new show. This coming Tuesday is our good friend Dr. Tracy Jones, the president of tremendousleadership.com. This week tried to honor women, okay, for a lot of reasons, but the best reason being that it's Women's Week in the world. So we had Arlene Lowy and we had Mariel Hawley. And this coming week, we're going to have Dr. Tracy Jones. And we're also at the end of this week going to have Fraser Brooks. And those of you who know social media, you may know the name. Fraser is a leader in that space in network marketing. Some of you I know own his books, as do I. I watched Fraser grow up. I've known him, believe it or not, since he was 2 days old. And I went to visit him in the hospital. His family, his dad was a key distributor of mine in another company and a good friend for all these 30 plus years. So anyway, Fraser Brooks this week as well. So if you're interested in social media, you don't want to miss these podcasts. And we got a whole bunch of great people I've already interviewed coming up. So that's a new tool for you today. Moving on. One of the people I'm going to interview is the young lady I'm going to introduce next, my dear friend, Distributor of the Year in beautiful, wonderful Canada, the last 2 years in a row. And she is, along with Keith, got the unique distinction of being the co-founding distributors of this company. Both Keith and Sandy have been here 25 years. Now just think about that in your own life for a second. 25 years ago, for example, I was 34 years old. So think where you were. Some of you were in high school. Some of you weren't born yet. And some of you were probably, doing whatever you were doing 25 years ago, a quarter of a century. So first of all, Sandy, congratulations. Welcome to the call. I appreciate you being here. I know you're fighting time today because she's also got 3 wonderful sons who I've also watched grow up, which tells you how old I am. But more than that, one of her sons is getting married shortly, and she's actually hosting the wedding shower for her soon-to-be daughter-in-law. So, Sandy, welcome to the call, and your thoughts on 25 years with Immunotech.
Well, thanks, John, and welcome, everybody. And it's my pleasure to be here today, even though time is crunched in on me. 25 years ago, I look back at what a wonderful opportunity that was, and how hard it was. I guess how hard it was what I really have to look back at and think that, oh my God, we started something 25 years ago that is growing. And just a little bit of background about me. I never came from any kind of money. My parents were immigrants from England. Things were very hard. My dad worked 3 jobs. He was a tremendous athlete as well, like Mariel. He won the Pan Am Games, diving champion. He competed for Canada against Britain's wishes. And my dad instilled in me this incredible drive to succeed. And I think that is what sort of founded who I am and what I stand for. And, when 25 years ago, I wasn't looking for a job when Immunotech came to me. And I certainly didn't know anything about health, but, I got a paper on a fax machine, and it was, stamped confidential. I'm sure Keith got the same one. And, it talked about rats and mice. Now, how silly is that for most of you? But I was a farmer, and rats and mice were living 30 to 50% longer in some of the clinical trials that Dr. Bunos and Dr. Kongshaven were feeding this whey protein powder. Well, when you say 30 to 50% longer in my world, my farming world, that's a lot. Not 0 to 30, 30 to 50. And talked about, this glutathione stuff, because I couldn't even pronounce it back then, and how this could make a difference. And it talked about 500 liters of raw milk making 1 kilogram of Immunical. And, I distinctly threw that fax in the garbage. My kids were 7, 4, and 6 at the time. We were farming 6 square miles. That's a big ranch. Seeding over 1,300 acres, had 150 head of cattle. And my husband and I were basically running on empty. We couldn't afford a hired man. We had 4 crop failures in a row. We were over $350,000 in debt. And quite honestly, if you've ever been in farming or know anything about it, the machinery is very expensive and everything depends on the weather, the prices of grain, and the prices of cattle. And if you don't come from a farming family, you don't have any backup, and we didn't have any. And so, I got on a plane and I flew to Montreal, and I went with to see Dr. Bunos and Chuck, and I believe John was there that day. And they told me about Dr. Bunos's dream and about this amazing discovery. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to be able to explain this, but I'm sure going to give it a whirl. So I came back home. I got 12 canisters out of the Montreal General Hospital. And I really believed in what he told me that day, and how hard he had worked, and that there was 22 years of science already. And I thought, oh my God, I can do this. I can really do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but Chuck and John and Dr. Bunos at the time, they said, Sandy, you just keep calling until you don't need to call anymore. And I brought that powder home, you guys. And you have to understand, in 1996, there was only 4,000 articles in the National Library of Medicine on glutathione. Currently today, there's over 185,000. And in 1996, there was nobody that knew about it except the medical community. So here's what it looked like. A little farm girl, cowgirl, and, I was a barrel racer, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to teach people about health that I know nothing about. And I just had to dig deep and say, I have to do this. I don't have a choice. I have a product that has a history of 22 years that comes from McGill, a university that only I believed rich people could go to. I didn't think that 22 years later, my kids would be going to that school and have master's degrees. It was a rich school, and I didn't come from a rich neighborhood. And so I just started, telling people about Dr. Bunos and about his dream. And I started recruiting people, and I just did it, one at a time. And slowly and surely, there was a small group of us out of Montreal, and we just kept marching because we believed in what we were selling. And we knew what we were selling, and we knew that this product was going to stand the test of time. And so from that day forward, I made a decision in my life that I was getting out of debt. I was going to be debt-free. I was going to touch as many lives as I could. And when I say touch lives, I need to be crystal clear about something here. We in Immunitech don't get paid on the number of people we recruit. We get paid on the number of lives we touch from the products that we sell. And so if you can touch as many people with this product that you can, and build an organization of like-minded people, you cannot not win. You can't win. And one thing, John, before I let everyone go, and I'm doing some calls with Foster, and I mean, it's been an incredible journey. And I've watched this company evolve over the last 25 years, and the best is yet to come. We are now entering, into more global markets. And I mean, we really certainly haven't even touched our own backyard. I look around and I think, oh my God, okay, there's 39 million people in the state of California alone. That's more people than the entire country of Canada. And we don't even have 1% of the population in Canada on this product. So a lot of people say, well, this company is a 25-year-old company. Oh my God, it's too late to join. Well, I'll tell you right. The start point is now. It's now, it's today. Because today, we not only have the tools that we need to move our business forward. We've got all this social media stuff. Like, we didn't even have, a cell phone wasn't even invented when I started. And we didn't have a brochure. We had nothing but our voices. And we still have our voices. But what we got now is not only our voices, we've got a 25-year history of a company that stood this test of time, a product that's going to bridge the gap between traditional and alternative medicine, and has already done that, a leader in the industry, the best scientists behind us, globally recognized, published in the National Library of Medicine, and oh my God, like it's just dripping with credibility. And so the best is yet to come. And I truly believe that. And I can wake up every single morning and I put my feet on the ground, and we all have a volunteer army, you guys. These aren't paid people. We are leaders of a volunteer army. And so as leaders, as our volunteer army, we have to keep those people going, and we have to give them the tools that they need. And thank God that Zoom came along. I can't even work it. Keith's working it right now. But at least we can get our voices out during this pandemic, and we can tell our stories, and we can connect. And when we really do have a convention back real, we can say, oh my God, I met that person on a Zoom meeting. And so, you know, John, I'm truly blessed. My boys are all, you know, have their master's degrees now. They're all building the business. They're the next generation of Immunotech. And I can't wait for them to, you know, teach their children Immunotech. And I'm not quitting. I mean, half of my network started when they were my age. And so I've got another good 20 years in me, I hope. And I'm just going to keep going. And I want to be a role model for this company. And I want to continue to help people from all markets, all areas, all downlines. And I love what I do. And we've got the best in the world. So I want to thank everybody for having me on today. I look forward to doing more great stuff and telling more stories. I've got so many stories. I could write 6 books. But the most important thing is, you guys, is the relationships that you build with people in this industry. I have built so many wonderful relationships with people, like I always call John my network marketing husband, and those you can't buy. Those aren't for sale. You build relationships with people that last a lifetime. And that's truly the gift that Immunotech has given me, not only the product, but the relationships that I've built, made with people over the years from every walk of life you can imagine. So thank you very much, John, for having me. I'm so excited still today, and I'm really excited about what's to come. I mean, the future's huge.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sandy. I do normally ask you questions at this point, but I don't know what your timeline's like. I know you got a party to run, so you go when you have to. But thank you so much. And you know, Sandy has been here a long time. And Sandy, when we started, the young man I'm going to introduce next wasn't even born yet. To give you an idea of the generational growth of Immunotech. Yeah, I know. Makes you know. We earned our gray hair. Anyway, so let me introduce a young man that has been doing a phenomenal job. I've known him since he was barely out of high school, and he's been a distributor. He's been taught the business by his mom. He's been a great student, but he's also a great student of social media, and that is something that we all can participate in this company to advance our business. You know, we're all on Facebook and Instagram and all these type of things, but a lot of us don't really know how to utilize it. So he's going to share a few ideas with us of things that we can do that are user friendly, whether you're an old guy like me or a young guy like Foster Owusu. Either way, you can benefit by this information. So Mr. Giancarlo Torres, I want to introduce you, my friend, and turn the call over to you.
Hello, everybody. It's always an honor for me to be here with, wow, the almost 100. Awesome. So, and again, John, for you and for everybody, for Sandy, I always love hearing your story. And John, I truly love these Tacular. So talking a little bit on social media. So I don't know about you guys, but whenever we go to like Facebook, for example, we see like a million ads of like a million coaches, right? Like trying to sell their course on social media and, on how their course is the best and whatever. And I remember my first year or two, I wanted to buy every course. I wanted to sign up, in every course. And I failed tremendously my first, I would say, 2 years of social media because I was seeing everybody's opinion. Okay. So the first tip on how to manage social media is don't listen to everybody. Not every coach is correct, and not every social media guru is good for what we do in immunotech. Okay. So that's the first tip. Don't listen to every single social media tip. Not everything works. And I think that's a good tip because a confused mind doesn't act. Right, John? You know this. So definitely don't listen to every single social media coach. Just pick probably one or two and implement their strategies to what you do. Okay, so that's the first tip. The second tip is that once you think about social media, you want to think about social media in two ways. Okay, so you want to think about social media on how to attract your tribe and how to keep your group connected. Let me repeat this. You first want to know how to attract your tribe. And second of all, you want to know how to keep your group connected. Let's start with the first one, how to attract your tribe. Okay, so social media really is all about attracting. That's all it is, okay? So how do you attract your tribe? First of all, you have to understand that if you want to attract new people into your social media account, you can't expect this to happen in a week, okay? You can't expect to have 200 new friends a week. You can't expect to have 1,000 new followers, okay? To grow a social media, a good, powerful, it takes time. It takes time. So manage your expectations, okay? If you start posting once a day, don't expect 50 recruits that week, right? So manage your expectations. That's the first thing. And the second thing you want to do to attract your tribe is, of course, build a nice profile, a profile in which people know who you are, okay? And third, focus on one word when it comes to social media, and that's called attention. Attention is the best social media tip I could ever give when it comes to attracting your tribe. Attention. The more attention you have in your social media, the more people know you. And it's better nowadays in 2021. It's better who knows you than who you know. Okay, so it's all about attention. Now, what kind of attention? Well, it depends. For example, John Saldo has been in the network marketing industry for 40 years. Maybe John wants to, put attention on Zoom Taculars, about himself, about podcasts, about his books, because that's where John is right now. Maybe Juliana likes food, loves Italian food, or just loves, her Brazilian culture, whatever. Okay? Maybe she likes to joke around. Put things like that day by day, week through week. That's how you start attracting your tribe. Okay? I think sometimes we go into social media thinking, okay, I'm going to post only about ImmunoCal. And I think that's an error, sincerely, because people, if you go to Facebook or Instagram, there's a million ImmunoCal accounts, a million of them. But if you first talk about yourself, about what you like, jokes, food, business, whatever, people start to like you, people start to learn about you. Now, how many times you have to do this a day? Depends on you. You can do this once per day, once every 2 days. Just be consistent and focus on, again, that magical word, attention, attention, attention. The more attention you get, the more people know you. The more people know you, the more business you can do. I think that's as simple as that when it comes to attracting your tribe, okay? So that's when, and then with time, you attract customers. Look, I'm going to give you guys 2 really good tips on how to get customers and recruits, okay? So get ready and get your notebook. Last week, I have a distributor in my team who, this person is a distributor that acts like a customer, okay? So, this person bought 3 boxes of ImmunoCal and has had it for the past 6 months. So, I know that they're not really drinking the product. But recently, this person had a fantastic testimonial with the product. Fantastic testimonial. So guess what? This person is in the mortgage industry. She makes a lot of money, okay? She has all these contacts. And she posted in her Instagram and Facebook, she posted a box of ImmunoCal and posted 2 pouches and said, hey, if you want your immune system to get strong, contact Giancarlo. I said, well, how nice. You know, she's not even a distributor. And she put that for me, you know, to help my business. So what did I do? I reposted it. I reposted what she posted. Now, guess what? Somebody asked me this week. Somebody else. What is that stuff? I would like to know. I would like to know about the email account. So with this is what I recommend. There's a lot of people in your team that aren't selling the product. They're just customers. Okay? And customers, I'm not talking about, you know, being part of the preferred customer. No, customers are people that only eat the product. That's it. They don't sell them doing it. They don't want to sell. That's okay. But ask them this. Ask them, hey, look, I'm looking to expand my referral business. Okay? Can you do me a favor and post one thing about my product and tag me since I want to expand my referral business? Guess what? 90% of your customers will say, absolutely. I'll post that for you. That could be Instagram. That could be Facebook. That can be WhatsApp. That can be whatever. But ask them, hey, look, I'm trying to expand my referral business. Can you just post one thing about my product and tag me? Absolutely, they will do it. So guess what? Imagine if you have 50 customers. Let's say 20 people do this. You will absolutely get new product users. You will 100% get new product users, and who knows, recruits. Because why is this such a good strategy for everybody that's watching? Because then you tap in their network, right? You tap in their network, and it's their network that you want. You want to tap in their contacts, not yours, right? The gold is in their contacts, not your contacts. So ask your people in your business, your customers, can you do one post about my product and then say tag me? And then repost it. And like me, you might get a new customer. And again, this happened just once this week. Imagine if 20 people in your team do it. Okay. So that's a fantastic tip on that. Okay. Another tip I'll give when it comes to tracking your tribe is recently in the Immunotech convention, Eric Worre said to text 100, 200, and up to 1,000 people, right? You start conversations lead to customers or recruits. So I was thinking, what's the easiest way to do this? Well, very simple. Some of you probably don't have Facebook. Some of you probably don't have Instagram. My recommendation, if you don't have it, install it now. If it's hard for you, don't worry. You'll learn it. But for now, put a picture in WhatsApp, you know, in your WhatsApp story, okay, or social media story, and put a picture about your family or about something you like. You'll see on the bottom how many people see it. So, for example, if I put a post on WhatsApp, let's say about my dog, I'll see who's seen that post. Sometimes it's 150 people that seen that post. Now, guess what? Most, of course, a lot of them are already distributors and customers in your team, but for whoever you haven't had a conversation in a long time, check. So if you see 150 people, let's say 50 people you haven't talked in a long time, send them on WhatsApp. Hey, buddy, it's been a while. How's life? And before you know it, you start a conversation with this one post just because all these 100 people. I've done this, my friends, okay? I'm walking the talk here. I'm not talking things that I haven't done. And I've gotten many customers, many recruits, okay? Just recently, by doing that strategy, I recruited someone that bought $1,500 in product. So this is real stuff, okay? This is no fluff, okay? So these are some tips that I can give when it comes to tracking your tribe. I always recommend for you to pick, again, 1 or 2 coaches on social media and really implement their strategies, okay? Because I'm not a coach. You know, honestly, I don't consider myself a master here, really. There are some coaches that are masters, but these are the things that, you know, that's helped me. So the second thing, social media when it comes to connecting your team, okay? John knows this. Foster knows this. I have other distributors are here. Juliana knows this. Victor knows this. We have what we call the WhatsApp chats, okay? And we are the biggest fans of our WhatsApp chats, okay? We're on that chat 24 hours, literally. No exaggeration. I have some of you here laughing because it's true. 24 hours we're talking, okay? Now, what's the goal of a WhatsApp chat? Just to post about events? No. The goal of a WhatsApp chat or a Facebook group, okay, it doesn't really matter what you prefer, okay? And now, you know, now we have Telegram, you know, coming along, okay? So, you know, who knows if we'll start using Telegram. The whole point is find a social media platform in which you can make a group of people, That's the principle. Okay. It could be WhatsApp. It could be Telegram. It could be Facebook. Find a place. So with that in mind, or Signal. Okay. The goal is to create a community. A community. An online community where everybody knows you and your team. Okay. If you have 100 distributors in your team, it's very hard to send a message to each one of them. And email has become a little impersonal. So you want to have a community, a group, or a WhatsApp chat, or a Telegram chat, whatever, where you're constantly sharing tips. You're constantly sharing product stories. You're constantly sharing testimonials. You're constantly sharing events. And that people feel good regardless of their rank. Okay, so this community is meant, okay, and you probably want to make a couple communities. But the most important one is where your silvers feel comfortable. Your associates feel comfortable. Your diamonds feel comfortable. Your executive diamonds, your senior point. You want to create a community where everybody feels good regardless of their rank. Once this happens, you create a beautiful culture. And once you have a great culture, everybody in your team sticks. Okay? I've had customers that before adding them to the chat, they were ordering, let's say, 1 box per month. Now that I add them to the chat, they order 5 boxes per month because they've learned. They've been educated. Okay, so find a platform or place where you can create a community, or your upline might have one already, and just start adding your people to that community. Okay, so this is super important. Culture. Okay, remember 80%, and you guys can write this down, 80% of everybody in your team will either be a customer or their desire to earn money is literally zero. 80% of your team will probably only consume the product, will only earn $100 a month. There's a 15% that want to go a little bit higher, and there's a 5% that gets to the top ranks. Now, what does this mean? That 80%, guess what, is 80% of your check. So you don't want to ignore that 80%. So how can you keep that 80% happy? Creating a community through online. That's how you keep the 80% happy. And if you keep the 80% happy, the 80% of your check will remain. And if 80% of your check will remain, you'll be happy, and you have the famous residual income that everybody's talking about, right? So remember, 80% of the team will only have such desire and will be customers, and just 15 to 10%. So create a community where everybody feels comfortable, no matter the rank. Okay, so we talked about attracting your tribe, and we talked about community. Keep growing yourself. Okay, people, keep growing yourself. Also have in mind that strategies change all the time. Probably what I said right now in 2022 does not apply. Okay, I'll be honest. Everything is changing. So always stay connected online. I know it could be exhausting, but strategies are changing all the time. Okay, John Salder knows this. Foster knows this. Juliana knows this. Bruce knows this. Everybody knows that what works right now probably won't work next year. Okay, but these are some good principles that will keep you active, and hopefully will get you more customers and recruits.
Well, Giancarlo, all I can say is that's amazing.
Thank you, John.
And look, I don't know everybody's age on this call. I'm going to be 60 years old in 2 months. Giancarlo is now. Are you 23 finally?
That's right. That's right.
You finally made
23 in October.
23. And 23. And I have 2.5 pages of notes. And Giancarlo has been such an influence on me in social media when we first met. And he was just a really young kid, just barely out of high school.
19.
And started to tell me, you need to use social media more. A lot of people know who you are, but they don't really know who you are, even though they know your name, but they don't really know who you are, even in Immunitech and even elsewhere. And he's been one of my coaches, along with Fraser Brooks, and some of the stuff that I'm doing. So you're never too old to learn from somebody. Hey, Giancarlo, just before we finish, yep. Okay, why should they listen to Fraser Brooks when he's on our interview this week? Because I know he's one of your mentors, and he's an old guy to you. He's 32 now,
Well, you said it. He's one of my mentors. Like, one of the things that, a lot of things I'm telling you comes from Fraser Brooks. I remember, so I'll give you guys a quick story. A lot of you know the GoPro event, okay? they had told me about this event and how there's a lot of social media strategies. So I didn't have the money to go to Las Vegas in person. So I bought a webinar. So I think I paid $350. This was in, 2021, probably 2018. And I had a purchase to learn about social media, truly. And Fraser Brooks was one of the main speakers on social media. And I remember him talking that you could build a business truly 100% online. And I thought that was crazy. And I got a lot of his notes. I bought his books. I listened to some other podcast, okay, in which he was a guest. And Fraser Brooks, really, I mean, you know, I think if I'm not wrong, he built a business, John, and of course, we'll listen to this in the podcast. He built a business of 300,000 customers through Facebook. So Fraser Brooks is no joke. I now know him personally, which, you know, makes me really happy. But Fraser Brooks is, the thing about Fraser Brooks is that he does things that work now. He's always changing, always changing, always changing, always adapting, always changing. And those are the coaches you want to follow. Okay? Coaches that told you 5, 10, 15 years ago, do something, ignore them completely. Honestly. Okay? Fraser Brooks is always adapting day by day, week through week, month through month, year through year. And that's why he's so popular. So, John, you know, personally, I can't wait to listen to that podcast because I know he's going to give me more tips and things that I didn't know. And again, Fraser Brooks, he's a proven guy. And I know that, I'll love it. So, you know, John, the whole fact that you have him on your podcast, it's amazing because so many people will get so much value. And again, just don't miss that, people.
The funny thing is, he quotes me from his dad teaching him something that I taught his dad 30 years ago. And then when we finally did the interview, we were laughing because he's like, it's so funny because I grew up listening to this John Soliter quote every day. And now he's like this, you know, this guy just doing all sorts of stuff on social media all over the world. But it's just so funny how that worked. But yeah, I'm going to be a guest on his show. I think on March 25th, I'm on his show and he's on my show this week. So anyway, but great guy. Thank you, Giancarlo. And
my pleasure.
Moving along, another very special person that we have here at Immunitech is a recent addition to the corporate team. And she's got a background in the industry that is phenomenal. You know, when you think of network marketing, there's been 4 companies that are the pillars of this industry. You know, Shackley, Amway, Herbalife, and of course, Mary Kay. And she was actually mentored by Mary Kay. Mary Kay gave her mentorship in this industry. So who better than one of the 4 foundational companies owners to be trained by? The one I had a tremendous respect for. I'm sure you all do too. And, you know, with Mary Kay. But Linda in her own right has had a career in the industry. She understands what women want out of a network marketing business. She understands what men want too, by the way. But she's going to give a little perspective, being Women's Week, on women, Immunitech, etc. So Linda Castillo, welcome to the call.
Thank you. Thank you so much, John. I'm glad to be here. You know, before I get into talking about women, I want to talk about something that has impacted them, and that's something called the gig economy. So, you know, 2015, it marked the beginning of this gig economy explosion. So what is this gig economy? Well, it was a way that many Americans found to freelance, take on temporary or on-demand jobs in order to supplement their 9-to-5 jobs. Back in 2015, we saw this with marketing, social media, people like Gian, computer programming, event managers, photographers, pretty much any skill that you had and you already possessed. It may have even been a job you were already doing. You could turn that into a gig on the side and supplement your income. So these gigs allowed them to use this income to enjoy family, fancy vacations, purchase an investment home, pay for their kids' college tuition, etc. Well, among the gig opportunities in 2015, and even before 2015, has always been network marketing. Well before the gig, there have always been these opportunities to share products and processes and things that would help people and women especially were able to make money doing this. But by 2019, of course, the world changes. The number of people involved in this gig economy was hovering nearly the 60 million mark. I mean, it's so important to make note of that. And the resurgence of the micro entrepreneurs was alive. Well, the surge of 2019 was brought on by gig opportunities such as Uber, Amazon, Instacart. Suddenly, there were all these other opportunities in addition to freelancing where people could make money. And a lot of women participated in those. However, many of these opportunities of micro entrepreneurship and freelancing were negatively impacted by COVID. And so as sectors of certain industries were devastated by the pandemic, so were these freelancing opportunities that accompanied them. And so what happens? Here comes another shift. And so things to keep in mind are that some industries did take this huge hit. And we're going to talk about a couple of them that most primarily pertain to women. But so one of them to think of is like the events and travel industry. Many in that industry say that we're still about a year or two out before we return to the glory days of huge conventions and big travel gatherings. But why is that important to women? Well, many of those who took advantage of the gig economy were women. And although opportunities to make additional income are not readily available as they were before, guess what? Our needs as women do not change. And so we're going to talk about two of these areas where highly skilled women who are in need of income opportunities and have a huge skill set makes them great for network marketing, such as Immunitech. So the first one I talked about is events, travel, and tourism. What percentage of women make up this industry? Well, for events, convention, meeting management, you're looking at 73% of those are women. In the travel industry, 80% of that market are women. And then as a side note, we also have 79% are travel agents, 79% are flight attendants. So what does that mean for Immunitech, for network marketing and Immunitech? Well, if you've ever been to a big event, you know that event meeting managers, anyone in this industry, they have excellent time management skills. They are able to resolve conflict. They're independent thinkers. They're not afraid to act. They can pivot in the moment when anything goes wrong. And most importantly, masterful people skills, because usually when things go wrong and they're having to pivot, it's happening right in front of people. And they always have to do it with a smile, and they always have to handle it with grace. So those are perfect people for network marketing. Those are people that you would think, wow, imagine if I were to have someone on my team that did this before, that's probably another year and a half out from being able to return to their career, and I have them in Immunitech. The skill set that they come to the company with is just aligns with what needs to happen in network marketing. So what's another shift that happened? Well, e-learning. So many of kids are having to learn from home. Daycares have closed because people are wanting to keep their kids at home. Guess what? 80% of teaching assistants, and when schools open, I mean, even with e-learning, teachers have jobs, but a lot of those supplemental teachers assistant positions have gone away. And so 80% of teachers assistants are women. 94% of people in childcare, again, are women. And so, that's a wonderful thing to look at, that these are women who are patient, they're considerate, they're nurturing. Again, wonderful, wonderful skill set to have in network marketing. Experts in the industry say that we are still a year or two away before we really return to normal. And so once people feel safe to gather again, big companies and organizations, they will be slow to make their way into funding these large gatherings. So in the meantime, what does that mean? And these are just two examples. There are so many more examples of industries that have impacted women in such a negative way. So women, we are looking for income opportunities. Now, women aside, let's put them aside for a second, and let's look at what's happened in this last year to Americans' bank account in general. I found this statistic. It scared me half to death, but it said over 60% of Americans aged 34 to 45 have saved less than $1,000. And with the unemployment brought on by the pandemic, many have sifted into their savings. So that means that there's a generation of workers seeking supplemental income opportunities like no other generation at any other time in our history. Many who before the pandemic already were a part of that gig economy, these are people that already knew that they maybe made 50 to 70,000 a year, but they needed that supplemental income. They needed that gig economy in order to do the things that we talked about, maybe pay for college tuition or some investments. Well, those before the pandemic were already invested into that, but there are many who never thought they would ever even entertain the idea, who have gone through their savings and had such a devastating financial year that are now open to that. And now we're talking about people who make even more than $70,000 a year, who are trying to just get back on their feet and get back to that place where they felt safe before the pandemic. So that's really good to keep in mind. So now we're going to go back to women. Let's go back to women. So why are women drawn to network marketing? Why are companies like Immunotech so attractive to women? Well, women are tired of the corporate grind. In the 70s and 80s, women loved that newfound independence. I'm a child of the 80s, and I remember thinking, like, I can't wait to wear that business suit and have that corner office. But today, women are happy to put on comfy yoga pants and skip the commute altogether. Instead of tolerating the office politics, women are falling in love with the opportunity to be their own boss and control their own schedules. Another reason is that we crave work-life balance. For a lot of women, competing in the corporate world is just not important to them. As many strive to be the super employee and the super mom, the majority feel super stressed out and burned out. And so having more control over their schedule is one of the strongest motivators for women to start a network marketing business. They love the idea of being able to attend their kid's soccer game or squeeze in a yoga class in between phone appointments. Another reason is that they love working as a part of a team. Women do well with others, and they love having the opportunity to be in business for themselves, but not by themselves. And that's attractive to them. Necessity and security. We've already discussed the impact of the pandemic on many families' finances. And so that's important to them. Same as men, low startup costs and monthly overhead. I think everyone looks at that as a reason to start a network marketing opportunity versus a retail business or a franchise. Rewards and incentives. So, incentives are offered at every level of business development. But, gentlemen, when you're trying to, get someone to go out with you, women like to be wined and dined. Let's not even lie about it. And so in network marketing, there is the opportunity to earn those experiences through rewards and incentives. And then one of the best reasons of all, there's no glass ceiling. Although a lot of progress has been made, women in most professions, even still today, are being paid less than male employees in similar positions. But this industry offers a complete level playing field where gender is irrelevant. As a matter of fact, you might find it interesting to know that in the US, 82% of network marketers are women, and globally that number is 76%. This business model thrives on the values of nurturing, support, collaboration, and authenticity. And women are naturally drawn to business models that align with those values. Now, what does this mean for Immunotech? And please know before I say this, I know that their dads are amazing. Dads are instrumental to the lives of their children, and dads, I can't live without them. But since we're speaking about women, I just want to take the time to recognize that women are usually the caretakers, the ones who keep an eye out for the latest health trends, the ones who make everyone in the family eat right, sleep right, and keep up with their doctor's appointments. And so not only do we have an opportunity for them, but we also have a product that speaks to them today. Being healthy has gained the importance it so deserves more than at any other time. And even when people were focused on staying healthy to lead their best life ever before this pandemic, now with the pandemic, it has just shown us how important it is to invest in a healthy immune system to help even when the unexpected happens. So imagine the power of a woman on a mission to nurture and support others with an incredible opportunity and a product that can impact our immune system. I can't think of a mission more tied emotionally to what matters to women, which is the safety and security of their loved ones. So definitely, I think whether it's for financial reasons or for that emotional connection or just to be a part of a mission greater than oneself, the network marketing industry, and in particular Immunotech, is a very viable opportunity for so many women out there. You will be happy to have these women on your teams, and you will see that they will be huge contributors and just cheerleaders, and those that will even push themselves to excel beyond their wildest dreams. So I think that's the message I had to share today, John. I hope that someone can find some validity in this and what it means to them.
Well, Linda, a lot of great points, but two things I want to hit on real fast. 76% of the people in the industry are women, correct?
82% in the US and 76% globally.
Wow. We need more women, guys.
We need more women.
but secondly, really important point. You mentioned that what percentage of people in the US have less than $1,000 saved?
Let me say real quick. Yeah, when I saw that, I was floored. It's really scary.
60%.
Where did that number go?
What was it? Somebody just said
60%.
60%. Thank you. 60%. And I just want to make a real key point, guys and girls. 60% of Americans less than $1,000 saved. I'm making a note of that too. Hey, listen, Congress just went through this whole thing, $1.9 trillion, going to be $1,400 checks, right, because of COVID. If people had an Immunotech business that they had built part-time up to gold, our average gold makes about $1,500 per month. So if they had that, then the government's money, which is really our tax dollars, by the way. It's not the government's money. The government doesn't make money. They print it. Okay. But anyway, nonetheless, you'd have about $3,000 a month, and maybe you would get through a lot easier. So once again, that number Linda gave is relevant. Okay. Really relevant. Okay. Not only the statistics about women, but the fact that 60% of Americans don't have $1,000 saved. Okay. If they had a plan B, like Immunotech, when this COVID situation happened, a lot of people wouldn't be in the situation they are. Thank you so much, Linda. Great job as always, my friend.
Thank you.
Moving ahead, another strong and amazing woman is going to lead us into our next section with an amazing man who you all know, John Molson. So I want to turn the call over to well, I could say she's my good friend, but she's also my older sister. So Dr. Salini. Nancy,
wait a minute. I got to jump in here. She's your better looking. She's your good looking sister. She's not older than you. Dinosaurs are not as old as you.
I have another sister who would debate who's better looking, but yeah, I'm definitely in third place. But I was the youngest. I don't know what happened with that. But for the sake of time, let's move along here. Nancy, you're up.
All righty. Thank you. Hi, everyone. And I'm really happy to be here. Keith, I may have to call upon you to share the slides, though. We've got a technical glitch that Zoom is not allowing me to share. So if you wouldn't mind queuing them up, I'm so sorry. I will never hold you responsible for not clicking properly, but it's really important that I be able to share the slides. Are you going to put, you're wonderful. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. All right. Thank you, everybody, for this time. And John has already alluded, and Linda gave me such a great intro. Thank you, Linda. For women who feel like they're aging out of the workforce, I just want to remind everybody that on this topic, most of the pioneers in environmental breakthroughs in science, large degree of them have been women. There was a book published recently about the 13 most influential women in environmental science. And as this question poses, can the environment make all of us sick? This topic is so important to share with you today as a public health professional and a human being. I want to call everyone's attention to the sad reality that our world today means that we are confronted with substances that have made some people sick, have the potential to make others sick. And if you need scientific proof of this, I've already sent out in the chat a whole bunch of references for you. One is the EWG.org in the United States. They've published a timeline and they've been sounding this alarm bell for decades. Toxic chemicals are found today, and hold on to your hats, in the body tissues of just about every American. There's over 80,000 of them produced as chemical entities in the United States. Our EPA has only been able to require testing on about 200, and only 5 chemical substances today are truly regulated. Few have been banned, and up until very recently, 2008, 2012, the use of BPAs, which are used in plastics. They were in children's products and toys and baby bottles, along with phthalates. They were only recently banned in the United States. Europe, as a contrasting example, banned these substances in 1999. And what John Molson and I are going to tackle today is another way to look at Immunical. Because as you see in the heart on that very first slide, it said something about detox, but Keith, this is perfect. Thank you. You read my mind. We're going to be talking today about something that we feel is an aspect of Immunical that to date has really not been covered as well as it potentially could be. So thanks to John Molson, we're having this discussion. And there's a familiar acronym. I think you've all seen Dr. Gutman use this when he's talked about glutathione as aid, antioxidant, immune system, and detoxification. The truth is Immunical is probably one of the greatest detoxifying agents that we have, and that's in our ability to use. So what I want to do for the next few minutes is set the stage for this. And that's great, Keith, if we could hold there for one moment. Because by setting the stage, I want to give everyone an appreciation for how big, how important this topic is. And if the names of Rachel Carlson and Lois Gibbs and Sylvia Earle and Erin Brockovich, and the list goes on and on and on, of those women activists that I talked about, just a few of them. If those names ring any bells, let me tell you that some of this work and awareness has been there since the 1960s. So why do we have all these chemicals in the world? Well, I'm going to tell you it's a current and very dangerous presumption that all chemicals are safe until proven dangerous. I'll say that again. Chemicals are assumed to be safe until they're proven dangerous. This is in such sharp contrast to how pharmaceuticals now have to be regulated and the amounts of data that they have to provide for demonstrating safety. This was not always the case. In 1950, there was the thalidomide disaster and tragedy. It was a substance given to pregnant women to help cut down on morning sickness, and it caused severe lifelong birth defects. Pretty expensive wake-up call, I think we would all agree. Now in today, thalidomide is shown to be effective in the treatment of other diseases. What if we'd taken that pause back then? And in the 1950s, studies by 3M and other chemical companies started to show that the family of toxic fluorinated chemicals known as PFAs had the potential to build up in our blood and do what's called bioaccumulation. By the 1960s, animal studies by 3M, DuPont, revealed that these substances could pose serious health effects. But the companies kept those results secret from their employees and the public, and that's the truth. Go on the EWG site, go on the EPA site, and you'll see that had it not been for those fearless environmental warriors, and there are men as well in that mix, and the EWG as activists, we never would have known this information for how much longer. So I want to give you this term today, and there's a lot of terms, and I'm going to define them quickly before I bring John on to have a dialogue on why this topic has possibly been underserved in our community, to quote one of the other speakers today, because we are a community. And while Linda talked about women aging out of the corporate scene, we can never age out, ladies and men, at helping others to live healthier lives. I don't care what age you are. By the way, a lot of these environmental women died in their 90s. So there's something about that passion to help people who maybe know that they've been environmentally exposed. We don't always know, because the reality of that is that the testing for the specificity of what you've been exposed to is not always largely available, but it's also very expensive. Some chemicals.
So, how does John find his dear friends?
Sorry, hello? Was someone not on mute? I'm sorry. I'm going to keep going. Yes? All right. Some of these chemicals, it's important to know, lodge in our bodies. Some get excreted. They have a very short lifespan in our bodies, such as arsenic. We can rid ourselves of those within 72 hours. And arsenic, by the way, is a byproduct of rice. Rice absorbs the arsenic in water. So even if you're eating organic rice, as I tell my organic friends, always see if you can check what kind of water supply they have, because arsenic is a natural substance, but it's not natural in our bodies. Other chemical entities, such as DDT, remain in the human body for up to 50 years. And of approximately the 80,000 chemicals in the United States that are currently in use, we don't know how many of these become a body burden, but we do know that many of these chemicals have been measured in people's bodies, not only in the United States, but around the world. And as of today, and if we could pause here for a moment, Keith, because I think we're taking a big tour here. This is a big topic. I'm trying to get us through this background and this level set so that we're all together in this. Because for me to get up here and just use big, scary chemical names, that's not going to help increase our awareness. Suffice it to say, other people have done that. And Dr. Pizzorno, I've given you, you can search on him. He was a health advisor under the Clinton administration. He is an editor-in-chief now of scientific publications. He's really looked at not only the harm of some of these substances, but linked to genetic causes. And by the way, I think that this is stunning. Only 5 to 10% of all cancers have been scientifically evidence-proven linked to causing cancer. If you start there and you believe that, what about the other 90%? Could it be something as simple as looking at the deodorants? And I'm going to pick on women again, because we do this thing. We shave under our underarms, thus opening our skin to micro tears. Then we put a chemical substance on it, like aluminum. And just think about that. Could all of that other 90% be linked to this concept of the body burden? One study found traces of some 232 synthetic chemicals in the fetal environment, in the cord blood. One study found these traces from 10 different babies of African American, Asian, and Hispanic descent born in 2009 in the United States. One of the study sponsors was the EWG, a nonprofit, nonpartisan research group. So I'm going to pause here, but I wanted to get to another slide here, Keith. If we could go forward. Let me also give a shout out here to Dr. Christopher Wild. In 2005, he really gave light and started to shine the light on a new area of research called exposome, or exposomic research. This research is important, so I want to pause here for one moment. It's been likened to the Human Genome Project, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, looking at what genetic characteristics make us most susceptible to diseases. The exposomic research area is now looking at chemical and pollutants and environmental toxins in relationship to our health. For the first time, and this only started in 2005, we're able to start to measure the multifactorial nature of being exposed over a lifetime to all these chemical entities. So it's obvious, if you're a coal miner or you're in a nuclear plant that has a meltdown, those exposures are obvious. But what about if you're not a worker in those environments? What if you're just a mother trying to raise her children who's been diagnosed with awful autoimmune diseases, saying, what the heck, how did I get here in my health? Keith, if you could go forward one more slide, please. Thank you. Almost done with the background. I also want to mention climate change in all of this. The Love Canal, which I'm sure some of you remember, was actually groundwater coming up to surface water that caused that incident. And the rest, as they say, is history. Do not delude ourselves into thinking about the importance of climate change and environmental. And on the next slide, Keith, I have just a little bit, I think it's the one after this, we'll pause here. But at the bottom of this slide, which you probably can't see right now, in the definitions, there is a subnote that hazardous waste sites, landfills. It may not be a direct correlation to climate change and this kind of personal pollution, but it certainly can be the disruptor and the tipping point that unearths some of these poisonous substances. You saw the slide earlier about, and Keith, if we could just go back one slide. Worst toxins clinically. New area of science as well, clinical environmental medicine. That's Dr. Pizzorno's work. Please take a moment, just take this in for a moment. Arsenic in chicken, really? Well, arsenic until recently was allowed to be in feed. So chicken by their very nature would have a lot of it in their adipose tissue. But look at the diseases that are now linked to these carcinogenic substances in many, many cases. And then on the next slide, I've given you a little decoding in terms of definitions, because I think those definitions are really important. And just very simply, underneath the definition of each, from toxin on down, I've given you an example. These are all probably somewhat household names, but those household names that were made famous by lawsuits or by regulatory mandate were only unearthed because of the fearless work of people who were willing and brave enough to expose them. And that is the truth. So look at POPs. Those are persistent organic pollutants. They live forever, basically. Endocrine disruptors, BPA. I hope anyone on this call who has grandchildren, children, you are not buying toys that are not clearly marked as green. Children put everything in their mouth, and free from BPAs. And just to put that in perspective, Europe banned the use of those in 1999. In the United States, through a lot of red tape and a lot of lawsuits, we did not ban the use of BPA until 2012. And phthalates was more recent for us as well. These are all chemical entities used in the production of plastics to make them more flexible or harder in some cases. And they are, when you think of endocrine disruptors, think glands and hormones, a foreign substance that consequently can do harm. And I would say they absolutely do harm to human beings. And finally, PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, industrial products, they were banned in 1979, but guess what? They're still found everywhere. They're persistent. They do not go away. Superfund sites attempt to clean them up. But again, you have a bad climate disaster and you unearth what's been locked away through protective layers, and we're back to pollutants hitting the human race. So I think that's the last slide other than mercury in fish. Choose yours wisely. And now you can imagine this. The rainwater produces runoff. Runoff from plants and effluent that's emitted into waterways winds up in our fish. So this should be a helpful guide. Obviously, the bottom feeders, the predators of the ocean are the worst. Why? Because they eat everything else. So it's almost a cataclysmic effect of those fish species eating and devouring all of these other pollutants that unfortunately, sadly, live in all our oceans. So with that all said as a background, didn't mean to scare the bejesus out of anybody, as we might say, but hopefully we have your attention. And I want to bring up my good friend and my colleague, whom I have so much respect for, John Molson. You all know John's history with Immunotech. You probably know of his history with Dr. Bunos, who was an amazing scientist who discovered Immunical. But I want to bring John up now. John, are you there? I'm not seeing you on my video. Okay, there he is. Hi, he appears. So hopefully that's a good background for me to turn this over to you now as to why Immunical is such an important source of detoxification, that D in our acronym. And given your history, can you please explain to our audience in your own words why Immunical helps to detoxify our bodies and why everybody should be thinking about this in their dialogues? Thanks, John. Thanks for being here.
Sure. Well, you know, the reason I'm so passionate about this is because Dr. Bunos was extremely passionate about this, and he started talking to me about this when we first started the company 20 years ago. You know, everybody is focused on immune function for very good reason, but this is something that was near and dear to his heart because he foresaw where we are today based on what was happening in the world and what he saw vis-a-vis metabolically and these glutathione deficiencies that can occur. You know, probably the best example when we talk about Immunical as a detoxifier, I'll give you the example that we looked at clinically. One of the big issues when we wanted to set up cancer studies with oncologists was, you know, would Immunical in any way blunt the effects of chemotherapy for these patients because of its detoxification effect? And so we measured quality of life in cancer patients, so how well these cancer patients did through chemotherapy. And there's ways to grade this based on established medical parameters. And we ran this multi-site study in Canada, 5 different sites in terminal cancer patients, stage 4 cancer patients, and non-small cell lung carcinoma. And so we were able to show that Immunical improved the quality of life of these patients, that they were better able to go through this chemotherapy, notwithstanding their state. And lo and behold, Immunical did not impair the treatment for these patients. So 2 very important facts. And so that's, you know, probably the best evidence we have, clinical evidence demonstrating how Immunical helped these patients go through, you know, these very, very injurious treatments.
Yeah, and John, can you comment at all? I think I've mentioned on prior Zoom calls, I have a niece who's very dear to me. She suffered undetected, unconfirmed Lyme disease many years. And when she finally got to the right doctor who understood her exposure over years, this was, she had infusions of glutathione in the hospital. Can you comment on how glutathione is used not only in that extreme disease state, but also it's used for overdose, for alcohol poisoning? Can you talk to us a little bit about that mechanism?
Yeah, so that's interesting, and Dr. Gutman talks about that in his book. So there are situations where, for instance, in an overdose, when a patient comes into a hospital, you absolutely need this immediate spike in glutathione. So they use intravenous NAC to bump that up as quickly as possible. And Dr. Bunos talked again to me about the differences between Immunical and NAC, in that Immunical is released physiologically through digestion. So it's much more labile. So that's why, you know, it wouldn't be used in that situation. But where you need this continual effect over time, it's much more efficacious in terms of the way it's released into the body. So that, you know, that's an important distinction.
Very, very interesting. Also, John, for the rest of us, let's assume, you know, you don't know you've had an exposure. but you're suffering chronic disease. And I think we all know a lot of people, or maybe we've been there ourselves, where the doctor shakes his or her head and says, you know, we've run every test on you. We just don't know what's wrong with you. And as I mentioned, that specificity of testing for environmental exposure is expensive. It is not readily available. And it's traditionally been a one-to-one. I know I was exposed to mercury. We do the test for mercury. We run the detox protocol. That's how it works. First, your exposure and what you've been exposed to has to be determined. For everybody else who just wants this detox agent or this detoxifying quality of Immunical, why should we be having discussions with people, again, about the nature of Immunical to provide this detoxing kind of agent? And as an athlete, I want you to comment on the extreme effects of being an extreme athlete. Is that in itself a toxification of the body in the byproducts produced from exercise? So I know it's a broad question, but.
I can talk about a very interesting project we had a number of years ago. And I was working with a university and this researcher who worked with Olympic female, and this is interesting because we're talking about women today. He was a physician with the women's Olympic hockey team in Lake Placid. And this was back in the 80s, and they couldn't figure out why many of these women had airway problems, airway inflammation. And so they narrowed it down to the fact that they were using fossil fuel burning Zambonis in the arena. And this is when I first started to learn about particulate matter and the effect of particulate matter. And particulate matter, if you read about this, is everywhere, and it's emitted by, again, diesel exhaust. And this is extremely insidious. Anyways, so that they found out this was the cause, and we did a study with this physician as a university looking at Immunical's effect on modulating this. In other words, modulating the effects of particulate matter, airway remodeling, and we're able to improve lung function in these athletes. So that's really interesting. And he said to me, you know, John, this is a model of our urban environment, what's happening in our urban environment. So when we talk about pollution and we talk about this aspect of glutathione metabolism, I think of it as the way we look at health. And you know, to use an analogy, when you look at an iceberg, you have 10% above water and 90% below water. And for whatever reason,
it's cold in Montreal. John, you're frozen.
skin is, you know, how we look in the morning, how our hair looks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we're really missing that 90%, which has a lot to do with the things we don't see and we don't feel, i.e., you know, the effect of these chemicals. And as Dr. Bunos explained to me, he said, you know, the reasons many cancers develop later on in life, he said, is because it's the exposure over time that causes these problems. So it's not a question of, you know, how you do from today to tomorrow. It's a question of, you know, over the next decade, second decade, third decade, fourth decade, and what we know about glutathione metabolism and the burden that living in this modern environment places on glutathione metabolism to the detriment of other functions. So we have to think about these things globally, and we can't just think about, you know, how good we look or how we feel, etc. We have to understand all the different things that affect us. The same way an athlete like Tom Brady, when he entered the league, he thought about, you know, training one way. Now he thinks about training completely differently because he has to understand all the variables. And that's what Dr. Bunos opened to my eyes, you know, that I started to see the world the way he saw the world and the way that, you know, all these different things affect us. And I think the greatest gift we can give people that join Immunotech is to open their eyes to what Dr. Bunos saw, what he passed on to me, you know, what we're talking about here today, because empowerment is really about passing on knowledge, and we pass on knowledge and then we give people the tools to essentially, you know, enact that knowledge. And I think that's really the greatest gift that Immunotech has.
Well said. And John, I know we're going to run out of time shortly, but another important question. We know Dr. Bonos, everyone should know of his work and who he is, and Dr. Gutman and who you are. But on this topic, which can be controversial, I've talked to people who say, oh, hogwash. You know, I'm not going to believe that the Lysol I use in my house is bad for me. It's kind of like, you know, people who didn't believe COVID was a real virus and wound up really sick from it. So how do you get the doubting Thomases and Thomasinas out there to take a look at this? What other sources of science and research do you point to? I've given some references you and I have discussed. What others?
There's a great site that I read every day. It's called Science Daily. And on here you have articles that, you know, span anthropology to the cosmos, and there's many articles on there that have to do with environmental science. But, you know, that's one example. So it's something I'm extremely interested in, because I'm interested, you know, as Dr. Bunos looked at our health holistically, and he looked at glutathione holistically, and he was writing about, you know, pandemics 20 years ago, and the fact that, you know, we're subjected to an environment that's changing due to, you know, global increases in temperature, but also the effect of pollution on ourselves, as well as these animals that are, you know, harboring these viruses, and how pollution is changing these viruses and making them more virulent. So I'm interested, you know, to stay abreast of this. So this is something, I mean, I get up every morning very early before I train. And these are the types of articles that I read, so that when we talk about things, I can reference these articles in the context of the importance of immunical supplementation.
Excellent, John. Thank you so much for bringing light to this topic. And I know we want to summarize. I want the John Molson 3 best takeaways from today for our audience, because I can think of no one better who can do that. But I just want to acknowledge what a nascent area of science this still is. My alma mater, which is New York Medical College in Valhalla, New York, where I did my master's work, and before that I did my undergraduate work in environmental science at SUNY State University. I just want to acknowledge that up until only about 10 years ago, scientists there and doctors were very, very concerned about autism and the debates about vaccines. They started a pediatric center to look at the effects of everything we've talked about on children, the effects of these pollutants, these persistent chemical entities. And what they are only just finding is the way to examine multifactorial exposures in children. So I want to tell everyone on the call today who might have gotten a little scared, and that's not John or my intent, but rather to raise awareness and raise your toolkit for your own research here. I also want to tell you that it's people who are doing that kind of work, and Christopher Wild, who is an oncologist with exposome research as an area now, we are able to finally look at these multiple effects on human health. But John, give us the 3 most critical takeaways from today as a distributor and really as an immunical professional, because that's what we want people to be when they have these discussions, right? Professional.
Yeah, you know, Sandy earlier talked about the fact that there was 4,000 articles on glutathione when she joined the company. And, you know, what I've come to learn is that a lot of things that we know about vis-a-vis science and in the medical literature have to do with the fact that somebody can make money on it, which is why it's at the forefront. Things that they don't make money on, you know, don't really come to the forefront. And so, you know, this is an area that Dr. Bunos exposed to me very early on. And I thought, you know, I had a level of knowledge. I was an athlete. I was pretty conscious about what I ate, but I had no appreciation whatsoever about living in our modern environment and the effects on our modern environment. And I said, you know, this is something that we have to pass on. Dr. Bunos was an educator. He was a researcher. And he felt it, he published all these articles because, you have to release this information. And so I think that's part of our job, is to release this information and to teach people to think, about their health, to focus on the 90% below the water, not just the 10% above the water, and to think like an athlete. As I mentioned, great athletes understand fastidiously. And, look at Oracle now. When my father owned the Montreal Canadiens, the players drank in the off season, ate whatever they want, showed up at training camp, 30 pounds overweight. Now you have companies like Oracle, who we collaborate with. They're doing all this biomarker testing, using AI to measure all these different parameters in the blood to fine tune a prescription on how to maximize the performance of an athlete. So, every athlete has a training plan. Every individual should think about their health and have a health plan, and to be focused and be aware of all the different things that affect them, because they're a lot of, if we're talking about women, a lot of people depend on that woman, the husband, the children, so it's important to pass this on, to make people sensitive to it, to make people aware of it. And imagine, if we have, 100,000 educators out there that can spread the word about this and make people aware about it, and then give them the tools to do something about it.
Well said. Thank you, John. And thank you to John Solider and Keith for allowing us to have what I think is such a critical dialogue today. And as always, John, you're a pioneer, visionary always. And I really thank you, and I enjoy our collegial relationship so much that we can have these discussions. Thanks,
well, I love having you to talk about this, because you were in it long before I was, and you understand it, and it's great we can do it together.
Agreed. And we can do more. Audience, let us know how else we can help you. We can always do zeroing in talks. Sorry for the long intro today, but it was important to do a level set, assuming everyone knows this topic in your conversations, I think is dangerous. So make sure when you're talking about detox, you're talking to somebody who understands what you mean. Thanks, everybody. John Solider, Keith, back to you. Thank you, John Molson.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
Well, thank you both. Great job as always. And we have a lot left, folks. And I know it's going to be a long day, but sit tight. If you need to go get a cup of coffee or stretch, feel free. But we've got some great speakers too. So I know a lot of times after they hear the medical part, people take off. Guys, this is business building time. Okay. What John just shared and Nancy just shared, if I had to sum that up, I would say why the current moment is an opportunity for each and every one of us on this call today, because of everything that's happened in the last 12 months, especially. Now you've got some simplification of what to talk about that resonates with people, okay? Nancy covered a lot in her pre-talk and introduction to John. John just touched on all of the basis points of why somebody should use Immunical as the detox for all of these different situations you just described. And frankly, hundreds that we don't have time to get into, but you do your own homework on that. Okay, moving along. We've been working with somebody for the last couple of months on some leadership development for our organization. And there's been about 15 of us that have met weekly with the gentleman I'm going to introduce next. And he's somebody who, once again, you hear John Molson talk, John just throws out there, well, my father owned the Montreal Canadiens. Well, one of the 4 most elite franchises in the history of professional sports, right? John understands performance. Immunical is a performance product. We are performance-based people, or we would not want to be self-employed in the first place. We would not want to have taken on that responsibility to build businesses. So we've been working with this gentleman, he's outside the company, to give us some guidance and really how to get into the zone. And it has increased our business. We're seeing great results with what he's doing. He's going to share some tips with us today and also how you can participate in an upcoming course if you like. So let me turn the call over from beautiful Nova Scotia. I can't wait to visit him out there when this crazy period of time is over in all of our lives and we can get on airplanes again. My good friend, Mr. Bob Palmer. Bob, take it away.
Thanks, John. We just came off, like John said, a fabulous seminar of 8 sessions, and I enjoyed every bit of it because today I'm kind of getting an idea of what all the people in that group have been selling and have been marketing, and a great product. Sometimes with a great product, you just don't enhance yourself enough. And so the clinic we just came off of was how to enhance yourself. And as I watched from week to week, how the individuals came to each session a little more supercharged, and many of them have been with the company for years, and some people just maybe got a little tired and forgot that part. They, you know, when I listened to Jean today, I mean, he's got that incredible energy, then he's, you know, going great guns, and he's bringing all these new great ideas. Well, some of us kind of, after we've been in a place for a while, kind of lose that edge that we used to have. And I think I helped invigorate that and gave some strategies to help invigorate that. But we all need that from time to time, and we need systems to help us with sales and marketing, and listening to John and Nancy give that great discussion of purpose. I can understand why you would be excited, and if I can lend a hand to that excitement, so be it. I welcome that opportunity. Today I was I'm getting ready to, you know, do my presentation. I went online and got to, you know, look for something on Zig Ziglar, because I've heard of him as being one of the best, you know, speakers around. And I almost didn't get this presentation fine-tuned because he gave me an idea that I've got this book that I've been writing for so long, and gave me a great idea on how to capitalize on that and actually get that project done. And I think Foster's going to talk to that later in terms of goals and how do you achieve them. But just listening to Ziegler got me excited, but he had this wonderful formula, but he was missing one component piece, and that's the zone that John referred to. He didn't talk about that piece, because you can have all the greatest goals and outcomes in the world, but if you don't apply the zone to it, they can go flat, and you can get knocked off your track pretty fast. And what watching that helped me do was go, okay, I have a project, how do I apply my zone to that? And over the course of the program, that's what I will be leading a discussion and giving you the strategies on how to do that. Now, the three main things that, you know, we talked about and that we'll be doing is, one is, how do you set that goal? The second is the feedback. You know, what are the problems that are going to occur, or what's going to throw you off your track? And then how do you deal with those? What is the skill set? What are the tools that you will be applying to that? And what we're going to create, and Jean would appreciate this. He's in the generation who plays video games. One of the things we're going to create in this program is your own video game controller. And you may say, well, how do we do that? You know, do I attach a wire into my head and run this little machine so I can better function in terms of my sales and marketing? But no, we're actually going to set up your right fist. I'll use my left one here to mirror it, but in the program, we're going to set up your right fist with a series of anchors, we're going to call them, but they're actually kind of buttons that will push your motivating factors, if I can put it that way. The first button we're going to set up is, you know, if I'm not in a goal setting mode, and if you fail to plan, we know how you plan to fail. This will help you be more decisive. We're going to show you how to be more decisive in your goal setting, and how you can create those fabulous, big, bright goals that actually drive you and make your business more fun. The second little button we're going to create here in your little controller as we go through the program is all the kinds of adversities that you face. You know, the people that you call and they don't get back to you, and the people that you call that do get back to you but say they're not interested, and all of those things that kind of the burden you pick up after, you know, a year or two, if you've been in the industry for 10. I mean, that can be heavy. And then the third button we're going to pick up and learn over the course of the program is, how do you offload that stuff? Not to somebody else. There's nobody else to take that. How do you offload it off your own back? How do you get rid of those monkeys, those gorillas sometimes, those 200-pound gorillas? going to show you how you can forget, and you can, people that are pushing your buttons in the wrong ways, how you can disconnect those buttons, and how you can rebuild your energy so that now when you go back to set those goals and outcomes, all of a sudden it gives you that kind of energy that this product deserves, and that people who you speak to can actually feel. It's that's the goal of the whole seminar. So, I'm not just using this as an advertisement for the seminar, kind of am, but I also wanted to give you a takeaway so that you can run with this and test it out. Now, like I said, I watched Zig Ziglar and saw the video and felt supercharged, but only partially by what I saw. I got supercharged because I was actually stepping into his shoes and feeling his passion. And when I think about John and all these podcasts he's doing, and those of you who are watching them, if you're only watching them for content, which there's great content, you're missing a big piece. And the big piece is, how do I be like that person? How do I step into their shoes and actually do what they're doing and actually see the world from their set of eyes? And it's really quite basic in how the human body works in terms of mirror neurons. They're called mirror neurons. They help you mirror by just stepping into their shoes. So your homework after this is to test that out. Just watch a video of one of the podcasts that John has done where you can actually see the person. And after it's over, what would it be like to perform like they do? And step in their shoes and feel that. And that's that third little button that we're going to create in the seminar, where you can actually do that. Become that person, think like they do, perform like they do, and apply that to you, because you're not going to become them. You're just going to apply that skill set to yourself. So the clinic is slated for the 30th of March. We're going to start the next phase of it. For those of you who are interested. We're already starting the second phase on Monday for part 2 for the program for the participants. But the program, it's 8 weeks, and it'll be a real experience for those people who want to excel in this company. It's going to be on Tuesday nights, and picking an evening because a lot of people can't get away during the day. And it's going to start at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll give you that. I'll give you my email. I'll put it in the comments section, and you can contact me if you're interested. If you know anybody else in your down line, in your up line that would be interested as well, they need a little spark in their game to get them restarted. It's a really economical clinic. But seating is limited. Thank you, John.
Well, thank you, Bob. And just to kind of give you results, okay? There's been 15 of us in class 1. Every one of our businesses has grown, okay? And our next gentleman that's going to speak, Bob, you're going to put that the details if they want it in the chat, correct?
Yes, I'll put my email. You contact me, and I'll send you out an email as to the time.
What I should have said also, though, guys, is we talk about performance all the time. Bob's clients include Olympians, Olympic champions, professional athletes, and CEOs. So he's always counseling people who are super high performance and have to be in that proverbial zone to perform. Okay, they're all in leadership positions, either individually or team or country in some cases. So, I'll just spill the beans, Bob. It's a whopping $97. Okay, I mean, like it won't break the bank. Invest in yourself. Ben Franklin, pretty smart guy. Okay, always said, empty the coins from your purse into your mind, and your mind will refill your purse many times over. So I think Dr. Franklin knew one or two things about self-development. So with that, another guy who knows about self-development, my good friend, my co-author of Leave Nothing to Chance up in beautiful Toronto, Canada, Mr. Foster Wusu. And Foster, I know you got a couple comments on Bob's program, and you've got something to share with us as well on training. Go ahead.
John, I have a lot to share, but we are going to really keep this going. And listen, guys, on this call, we have guests and we have consultants, so I want to quickly acknowledge that. You know, if you listen to what John gave us in terms of the health benefit, if you're a guest and you came on this call, you need to start asking yourself, as Dr. Nancy has said many times, what is in your health bank? What are you doing on a daily basis to make sure that your health is in the best shape? In other words, what are you doing to be proactive rather than reactive? So that is my sort of a reinforcement with John Mawson's comment. But back to Bob's program, we embarked on this somewhere around January 11th of this year. And it was, you know, precisely 8 weeks. I can tell you that personally, I have set certain goals for this year. And of course, they are monthly targets. And when we started this, obviously, was, again, beginning of the year and high expectations. But one of the things that I got very quickly, at the end of the 4th week, I realized that my performance was literally, it's almost like I'm on a high octane fuel. This is how things were going for me. And I remember on the 3rd of February, I introduced 3 new people in one day. And then the next day, I introduced another person, and it just kept building on that. But, you know, the overall goal here, being in the zone, is, you know, is something that is giving me and the team the edge to present whatever we're doing with absolute confidence. And now, if you're not in our business, but you are somebody who is, let's say, management position, you still want to be in the zone. As a matter of fact, I mean, you know, if I could put this on, being in the zone is where people can actually tell and look at you in the face and know that you are actually excited about what you are doing. You know, I have friends on this call, and I have a lot of new people listening in today. And, you know, if there's something that breaks my heart, it's because it's taken some of them a long time to really understand what we have here. So I'm going to admit that right now. In case I keep extending invitations, because I don't want to be one of those people showing up at your funeral prematurely. So I'm just letting you know. But today I'm going to really, really encourage you. If you are a consultant, Bob's program is something you want to be part of. Why? The fee in itself, let's say $100. When you break that down into 8 segments, that is like $12 and change. That is not even in Canada. I mean, our minimum wage is $15 an hour. It's not even charging close to that. So the price of admission is perfect. You're going to get something out of it. Now, I'm going to build on that a bit because I'm doing a little training here on goal setting. So you're going to see how this fit in everything that we're doing. And I'm going to quickly see, John or Keith, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? I just want to make sure I can go through this very quickly. Can anybody see my screen? Tom? John, can you give me a thumbs up? Thank you. Appreciate it. So I'm going to talk about 7 steps. These are proven concepts. These are things that I believe if you follow, especially if you have a target, whether you're in our business or not, okay, these proven concepts have worked time and time again. So goal number 1, okay, you definitely need to understand the importance of goal setting. But let's start with this, okay? I want you to look at this right now, okay? And step number 1, every goal needs to be written down, okay? You need to write your goal down. Now, some of you already know this, but it's worth reminding you, because if there's something that I know, is this: when a goal is written, you can actually hit that target. Okay? We've heard this many times. It's been said that, write the vision and make it plain so that who sees it will run with it. Write a goal, make it plain so that whoever sees it will run with it. And you ask yourself, when your goal is written, who is the first person who sees it on a daily basis? That is you. And if you can see it, you can run, because goals supposed to get you excited. If you see your goal and you share your goals with your team, if you're in our business, not only that you seeing it, but it's also going to energize their base. Because remember, right now we have a lot of things going on, and of course, don't take offense to what I'm about to say, but some like the stimulus checks. I mean, the stimulus checks is something that most people are focusing on, but personally, I don't like it because it doesn't stimulate me. When I set goals, it helps me to put whatever I want. I mean, John Molson, whom you heard not long ago, in the early days, we used to talk about, how high the goals should be. And we kid each other with that. There's no real limit, not even the sky. There's no real limit in our business. I have a good friend on the call right now. He's been an accountant for a long, long time. And, probably he's known me more than 30 years. There's nobody who's known me longer than him on this call. But from day one, I have been the type of person that I don't even get excited about some of these government subsidies. There's no record of me going on unemployment checks since I came to this country. But because of that, I always put myself in a position where I'm shooting for something. So that's number one. You want to write it down. Number two, you want to really keep your goals close to you. Now, today we have index cards that you can actually write stuff on and put it in your wallet. And again, ladies, you can put it in your purse too, but you can write your goals on a piece of paper so that it's close to you, because in life, there are challenges. People ask me all the time, Foster, how do you motivate your team? I said, I don't motivate my team, but I work so hard to find out their goals and their why, their reasons for doing this. Then if I can find their reasons, I'm able to use those reasons to motivate them. On my own, I can't motivate anybody. Now, item number 3 is something that I want you to. So number 2 is keep your goals close to you. Number 3, though, I want you to have a day of completion in mind. Why is this important? Now, some people prefer not to have a date. I do. I'm very competitive. I'd rather have a date attached to every goal that I set. Now, look at this. I wish I had put this on the screen, but goal, the word G-O-A-L, simply means go out and live. Go out and live. That's what goal stands for. Because if you have one, you now have a reason to get up every single day. If you look in our book, we talk about waking up excited. If you have absolutely nothing to look up to and to look forward to, John and I being, high achievers, the things that drives us and keeps us going is because we always have something to look forward to. Step number 4, list the obstacles in front of you. I was talking, when I was doing the 10 a.m. training this morning, some of you may not be able to relate to my story per se because of my background. It's not a North America background. But I was born in a small town in a country called Ghana. And on a Saturday morning, every Saturday morning, I have to be ready to go to the farm to bring enough produce for the week, to last us for the week. It's not like going to the grocery store every other day if you want. That's what my kids are used to. But you cannot start going to the forest without also thinking ahead that there's a potential obstacle. We have some bad bees in the forest. I won't mention their names, but I want you to imagine this. You need to list the obstacles, the potential obstacles in this business. Some people will get it right away. Some people will get it much, much later. So when somebody is not ready, count that as one of the potential obstacles. I'll give you two. Another thing is, some people may not even believe in your dreams. These are all potential obstacles in this business. But I tell people, prepare yourself for any potential obstacles, because by my experience, with everything that I've gone through in life, if you know the enemy, then you can defeat the enemy. I know this for a fact. If you know the enemy, you can defeat the enemy. I know some bad guys that I have defeated in the forest, but I have to look out for them. If you know your enemy, you can defeat the enemy. Two more. Create your dream team or mastermind. This is your inner circle. You need to understand that at some point, it may shift from I or me to we. So you need to have a dream team. You know, those of us who are so passionate about Dr. Bruno's dream, which has become our movement, we want to have a box of Immunica in every home. So if you're a friend of mine, I've been calling you and inviting you. That is my goal, for you to experience the health benefit of this product. But even within my business, I have to rely on core individuals who have the same vision, so that instead of me alone moving 1,000 boxes, if I can get 100 people moving 10 each, or 10 moving 100 each, now we are building a team, collective team. And that's why it is important to have your mastermind, people in your inner team. And by the way, when you think about it, we know that, they say service to many leads to greatness. And in order to accomplish that goal, you need to, again, identify some of the key players on your team. We talk about history. We use names like, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and we can go on and on and on, and the Rockefellers. None of these guys accomplished whatever they did without having a team. We may not know them, but these people had their mastermind behind closed doors. Number 6, and we got one more to go. You need to define your motivation. You need to define your motivation in a big way. Why? There's nothing wrong knowing what is in it for you. Sometimes people get all this thing twisted, thinking that, well, maybe if I buy the product, somebody's going to make money. Absolutely. I have a friend. He's a personal friend, but he happens to be my dentist. Can you imagine me getting worried because if I go to him and get my teeth clean, he's going to get paid, so I won't go. I'd rather stay with my stinky whatever? No. If you need a healthy immune system, don't worry about whether somebody is going to earn small profit from you making that buying decision. But if you are in the business, people also need to know your motivation. Right now, some of you know that I am working on building 6 new diamonds this year. I've made my motivation known. I wrote this down. In other words, write a vision, make it known, make it plain, so that whoever sees it will run. As a matter of fact, you might not grab this for me. I have my youngest son. He's the artist in the family, but you may not be able to see. But one of my goals is on this, okay? And you may not see it clearly, but there are 6 faces on here. Some of the faces are not that visible, but I get excited making sure that the people who are joining my team know exactly where I'm going, what the reward is going to be, so that they will also get rewarded. Number 5. Number 5 is gone. Number 6, know your motivation. But finally, this one here is the celebration part. Look at my body here. Yeah. This is the celebration part. It doesn't matter what the end result might be. When you get to the point where you say, okay, I've set a goal, I have weekly, monthly, yearly goals and all that, come December 31st, you still need to celebrate. You still need to celebrate. Why? Because I tell people, you and I can only control what we put in, but the outcome, nobody can really control the outcome. But even if you fall short, it doesn't mean you haven't succeeded. You know, we talk about success as a progressive realization of a worthwhile dream. Maybe in the eyes of some people have not succeeded, but for me, I tell people all the time, even though I'm not where I wanted to be yet, I'm also not where I used to be. That I can tell you that. So for me, I'm making progress because at some point, I don't want to be one of those victims relying on government checks that could barely look after your retirement age. I'm excited about what lies ahead. We heard from a young fellow that, you know, early this morning, my wife and I were talking about how important decisions are. Because if some of us had not made a decision 20-something years ago, where would a future like John Carlos be? Maybe without college education, maybe but this young man who was not even born at the time when this business was established, today he's a diamond consultant. And these are the things, some of the things that drive some of us, because you don't know whose life you're going to touch. That is going to make this world a better place. And if you feel that this is a movement that you want to be part of, we encourage you. Still bless everybody. Back to you, John and Keith.
Okay, great job, Foster. Thank you. And folks, we got 3 speakers left. Please sit tight. We got a lot more information to cover today. I know it's been a longer session than normal, but we just have so much. The company's growing so fast. Our businesses are growing so fast, and there's just so much information to accumulate. And we only do this once a month, so sit tight. And you definitely want to hear these next 3 folks. Okay, so what I want to do now is go over to a good friend of mine in the United Kingdom who is actually running the company in the United Kingdom and doing a great job. We've been growing there every single month since he's been leading the team. So I want to turn the call over now to Mr. Scott Lucy, and Scott has some great stuff he's going to be sharing with us. Scott, take it away.
Okay, John, thank you so much. Can you all hear me there? I'm not sure if I'm
Yep, you're good.
in the frame. Good. Yeah, I mean, listening to all the speakers tonight, I must say, I've been like you. I've taken pages and pages of notes here. I mean, it's really interesting. And from our perspective in Europe, we're growing very fast right now. Spain, the UK, Ireland, we're opening into Portugal, as you know, next this year. And then we're going to be opening into Germany, France, and Italy. And I just wanted to sort of focus on that for a moment, if I may, and say, look, you know, all of this starts really locally to where you are. And right at the beginning, we heard from Giancarlos and how to really use social media to connect with people. It's something I'm quite passionate about, is reaching out to social media groups. And with some of you, I've discussed this already. In your hometown, you will find people from the European countries where we're expanding into, whether that be here in the UK or Ireland or any of the mainland European countries. You'll find German people, Italian people, Spanish people, British people with connections back to these countries, all of which speak English. So you start from that perspective in your local communities, reaching out to them, sharing the knowledge you're acquiring here from all of these great speakers and the advice we've got from, you know, the nutritional aspects as well and how it's protecting our health. But yeah, it really is a good time to start doing this. We had some statistics today just to give you a little bit of an insight. You know, we have a national health service here in the UK, a little bit like Canada, I think. But they gave us some statistics today that said 1,600 people are usually waiting for operations of some kind in hospital. That's an average, 1,600 people a year. Since the lockdown, they're now facing 300,000 people waiting for operations. That was on our national news today. You know, there's a lot of people that are sick out there, a lot of people that are managing their health and are waiting, you know, for the system to pick them up. And during that time, they need this product. You know, they really do need the support of their immune system being strong, and really need to understand that, you know, everything that John and Nancy talked about, that, you know, the pollutants in our environment are affecting them all the time. And if they're building their immune system, start with the product. It's so essential. Some of the other statistics that came out in the talk today, you know, 80% are, this is Giancarlos again, 80% of our distributor base are customers. You know, 80% of people that are very, very happy with our product. Some of them will share it, and they may be earning sort of $300 to $500 or pounds or euros a month, but that's the majority. You know, so if you focus on the product when you're starting to reach out to people in your community that have connections back into Europe, you know, have that goal in mind. It's like we're just hearing from Foster. You know, these goals are so important. You know, putting down on your list, start to warm up those markets in Europe, but in your own communities. I mean, I guarantee you, if you, whatever city you happen to be in, if you put into the Facebook search section and put in, you know, Germans in Toronto or Germans in whichever city you happen to be in, well, John, where you are in Texas, or French or Portuguese or British, you'll find these groups, these communities that are actually sharing information and supporting each other as expatriates into the United States and Canada. And that's the link that's going to take you into Europe. Now, how do I know that? Right. Well, because we have 85% of our distributor turnover in the UK is Hispanic. It's Latino. It's come out of South America. It's kind of contacts from people in Mexico, from Colombia. We've got a great guy working right now in Dublin. He's 25 years in Dublin, in Ireland, but he's from Colombia, right? So his family reached out to him. We've got many Hispanic and Latino distributors in the UK that are building our business, and that they've now crossed over into Spain. So we've got 36% growth market going on over here right now, year on year. I mean, it's huge, huge potential. And people say, well, I'm not there. I mean, I'm in Canada or I'm in the States. But no, focus on your local community. Try and reach out to these people. Just type in that search bar on the left-hand side of Facebook. Looking out for people from those communities, and I promise you, you'll find them. Also talking tonight was Giancarlos about how to use Facebook. I've written a book recently. It's more of a guide. It's quite a small one. I'm very happy to share that with you. John, you can share my email address to everybody. It's easy, you know. And I'm very happy to send a free copy of that book to anybody that wants to have it. Okay, and it's very current. It's using all the information that Giancarlos was talking about. That you know, is really useful and simple to use. There's nothing technical in there. It's nothing difficult to do. So please, you know, keep in touch. I'm very accessible, like anybody over on the calls here and on the internet through social media, or our Facebook group for Europe, of course, is Immunotech in UK and Ireland. You'll find that. And you can find my email as slucy@immunotech.com. So back to you, John.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. And Scott has published that book. And if you want a copy of it, once again, slucy, Lucy @immunotech.com. Pretty simple. But Foster, could you put that in the chat, please? If you can type that up there. And, you know, Scott's doing a great job. I have to say, I mean, he kind of inherited a market that had not a whole lot of oversight to it for a number of years, and put in a lot of guidance. We see it growing every single month. And to his point, every ethnicity is represented around the world. Wherever you live, you've got people of these other nationalities living down the street from you. Find them, read his book, and it'll help you to do that. read the things Giancarlo's talking about. Listen to the interview with Fraser Brooks this week. There's a methodology. The world, even though, we've become so isolated during COVID, there's a huge world out there that we can access like never before, right from your home, get to know people. And these groups that he's talking about, Scott, I read the book, obviously. The groups that he's talking about, very, very accessible and free, by the way. Okay. Yeah. So, that's the other key thing. You don't have to go run an ad in some German newspaper. It's going to cost you $300 or $400 like we had to 25 years ago to grow internationally. So moving along, we got two other great speakers left, folks. So sit tight. Wally Kralik, are you with us?
Yes, I am, John. I'm here.
Hi, Wally. I know Wally and I had a discussion the other day, and Wally was a traditional businessman before getting involved in network marketing. And Wally and I worked together for over 30 years in network marketing. But before that, he had another life. Wally, you want to tell people what you did before?
Sure, I'd love to, John. First of all, I just want to comment on Foster there. Having dreams without goals, they're going to fail. So that's very important, what Foster was talking about there. But personally, John, we were immigrants. Just real quick, I'll give you a quick summary. When we came here, my dad worked for 3 different people, and we were poor. Once he started his own business, the family's life changed. So that was inbred in my headspace that if you want to have a fabulous lifestyle, you've got to be in your own business. It's okay to work for somebody else, but why build somebody else's dreams? So that's what I've done my whole life, is gotten involved in businesses. I've made millions, lost millions, and but I stayed focused on the only way to be truly happy in my books is to be in control of your life, your time, your freedom, and you can only do that if you're an entrepreneur. So 20 odd different businesses, as I say. My most successful one was the clothing business. I had 44 stores around Ontario, very successful, employed 350 people. And thank God that I was in network marketing when this COVID scenario hit, because all my stores would have been closed now. I'd have 350 people out of work, myself included. It would have been disastrous. So having a plan B, so to speak, having an extra income stream is so important. Who knows what can happen again down the road? People are unemployed. As Linda said earlier, 80% of people don't have any money in the bank. That's scary stuff. And they were in debt before COVID. Now they're 10 times more in debt. So how are they going to solve their problems? Get into your own business. And Immunotech has what I'd like to, refer to everything that's a perfect storm, so to speak. One of the reasons why I was successful, John, in clothing I'm not the smartest pencil in the box, but I got in front of a fad. The jean business was a blue collar attire. All of a sudden Hollywood adapted it and it became a fad. So everybody bought a pair of jeans. So I became successful. Same thing is happening right now. The analogy is right now, everybody wants to stay home. Everybody needs to make money. Everybody's concerned with their health. So Immunotech solves all those problems. So you get in front of this massive trend that's it started and it's going to grow into a giant. And Immunotech is all the dots are dotted and the teaser crossed. This is the ideal time to get involved in this powerful industry. Find a product that you can get passionate about. And that's so important too, because there's thousands of network marketing companies to pick from, John. You got to find one that has a product that nobody else can compete with, and that has a good comp plan. And that's what Immunotech has. Long answer, so to speak. Sorry, John.
Well, in our conversation, okay, and Wally was one of the interviews. He's been coming up on a future podcast here in a couple of weeks. But, just kind of to go real quick here, we're finding that there's 2 groups of people looking at network marketing perhaps for the first time. The one group is that 25-year-old that has all these skills, but maybe they're living on mom and dad's, extra sofa because they can't find a job because of the timing of COVID, right? The other is that 60-year-old, 55-year-old, whatever, that had a business like Wally did before. Okay. And I want to illustrate this for you real fast. It's important. I know we've been sitting here a long time and listening to a lot of great stuff, but it's really important you understand this today. Wally was that traditional business guy. Okay. And there's so many traditional businessmen and women that own businesses successful, poured their guts into it, poured their money into it, poured their lives into it for years and years and years. No fault of their own. COVID comes along, destroys their business. Linda gave some great stats before about certain industries, right? Anyway, point being, those people now, like Wally then, are looking for that proverbial plan B or maybe plan A even, because they realize that going back to whatever it was they did before may not be there. And if it is there, it's going to be watered down. And we used an example the other day. Wally had 44 stores at one time. If Wally is the owner, if he had those businesses today in Blue Jeans, retail, nobody was going in those stores the last 12 months for the most part. So the managers, the people who poured their guts into Wally's business, okay, those senior level management people who showed up every day and were the eyes and ears in Wally's case or that other, other people's businesses cases, those people now have been victimized by this as well. Wally couldn't pay them $100,000 a year to run those businesses because he wasn't bringing in that kind of money anymore. Follow? Those people are affected. The trickle down on this thing is horrendous. But anytime that there's a problem like what has happened these last 12 months with COVID, anywhere in the world, you got to have a solution. The solution is network marketing. The solution is Immunotech. Wally, your final thoughts on that, what I just laid out there, if you can kind of illustrate that a little bit better.
Well, you're 100% right on, John. That trickle effect it's not just my employees that didn't make any money. They didn't buy gas. They didn't buy clothes. They didn't go to restaurants. They didn't go to the shows. All these businesses, like in my town here, there's been hundreds of people have closed their doors. So as you say, now that is a phenomenal opportunity for everybody in Immunotech. All these people need help. These people are just living on welfare now. So we can offer them a solution, a plan A, like you say. And this right now is the ideal time to take a company like Immunotech, which has got everything in place. The market out there is massive for our product, for the business. So it's like a gift from heaven. For every door that closes, another one opens. Well, for us, network marketing is the door, and Immunotech is the vehicle to go through that door. So get excited about the future of Immunotech and how this product is going to solve a lot of people's issues over the next few years. Back to you, John.
Great stuff, Wally. Great points today, folks. And take this stuff once again. You've got these people. They're your next door neighbor. They're your friend. They're your relative. They're in the church pew with you tomorrow morning, wherever they happen to be. Share what we have, okay? Because when there's a fire, you want to point people to the fire escape, and network marketing and Immunotech in particular can be that fire escape. Hey, to wrap up today, a good friend of mine from the United Kingdom, our good friend, Dr. Jeffrey McTavish. I know he's got the slides that Nancy put together. He's got John's chat now that he's heard, and I want Jeffrey to just come on here for a couple minutes and kind of put a nice red ribbon on today's presentation. Dr. Jeffrey, welcome to the call.
Hey, John, thank you. Wow, what a list of amazing speakers and so much wonderful information. As Scott had said, he's written down lots of words, and so have I. There's just been so much fantastic information about today. So what I want to go back and just recap on a couple of things that Nancy and John were talking about is this toxicity thing. And there's a couple of things that I was listening to that conversation thinking, well, I remember back in the 80s when I first started having contacts and putting contacts in my eyes and then using a liquid to help clean the lenses. And it was very much advertised saying it has thimerosal. What I didn't really know is that thimerosal is mercury. So I didn't realize that I'm putting something in my eye that's highly porous, that's actually mercury going into my system. So this is another way of how we've been fooled by big pharma, big tech, big manufacturing about how we're being poisoned from everything that we're exposed to. And we did this innocently because we didn't know. And then I thought about the film Erin Brockovich, where she found out that hexavalent chromium was killing the people. I think it was in Texas, was it? I can't remember where it was in America. But Yeah, and that was a real story. And this is stuff that's put into a lot of the things that are made in everything that we use. And this is really toxic stuff. So why would we be doing this? Why would we be putting mercury in a filling in our mouth? You have to ask a lot of questions about why, as opposed to this is what it is. Then you have to ask, well, why did they do that? Why are we having that? And it begets a lot of different questions that come with that. So that was one of the things that I found out with that conversation. I went, yeah, I get angry just thinking about why. But at least we have something that's come along that has been able to help our detoxification pathways in the liver. And we know that the two detoxification pathways are heavily dependent on glutathione as much as your B vitamins. This is why eat your green leafy vegetables, because this is where it's going to assist this whole process. And glutathione is absolutely paramount to helping to synergistically bring this all together to help get rid of these nasties that we are exposed to daily, every day. Everything that we drink, everything that we breathe, we sit down on products that are laced with chemicals. I've had patients where they've been hypersensitive to lots of things. And I say, have you got new carpets in the house? Yes, we do. Get them out, or bring a sample in and we'll muscle test you. And they fail. And it just says, get rid of the carpets, because that fire retardant chemicals that they put in there are actually too overwhelming for their system to be able to live in that environment. So really think broadly about what's happening in our total environment. And she's right when Nancy said about things like rice. I would also extrapolate to say that rice and garlic are very much one of these type of compounds that draw in heavy metals from the area where they're grown. So always buy organic. Do not buy stuff that's coming from China, because you just don't know that environment. At least that we have the ability to have different markets with different farming tactics that don't rely on chemicals. The lesson that we can burden our system with chemicals is so important, because we need glutathione at a rapid rate, far extreme out of our parents and our grandparents, because their environment wasn't as toxic as the one we're living in. And the one toxic that we don't even talk about is the toxicity of this stuff. And I've talked about this before. The toxicity of non-native EMF stuff, electromagnetic frequencies. This is what really creates a lot of problems and disharmony within our physiology. So I just wanted to talk about that. Foster, wow, fantastic. Goal, I love that. That was fantastic. And then you said team, and I always remember what Don Hutchison had said, that team actually stands for together, everyone achieves more. And I went, yeah, that's fantastic. Really good. Write down your goals and visions, all that stuff, fantastic. It also gave me a couple of other things to think about for the future, which I can't devolve in because it's going to be like crazy stuff. But there's so much information that came tonight. And for me, being in the point of the health industry, that the paramount timing of this product and the opportunity for people to build a self-business that has so much connection to everybody in regards to self-development, helping each other with a health paradigm, because I really feel that one of the biggest things that's going to be so huge after we get into this cloud of this pandemic is building our health paradigm and building the health awareness of how important it is to be free from all the things that create a negative physiological effect on our system, and how everything that is positive and vibrationally wonderful for our system to absorb is going to be in the forefront. And one of those things I think is going to be Immunical, because it's a natural food. We're dealing with something that it's a food, and it's a food supplement that actually creates health within our system. And that's what we desire. We all desire health, because when we have our health, we have life, we have vitality. And this is what we really, really, really we want in our lives is vitality. So we can live life to our fullest. And as being a chiropractor, that's the same thing as saying, I need to make sure that your vitality of life is going to be fully expressed by adjusting you to be able to have that neurological freedom within your system. But that neurological freedom of being able to communicate is still going down to that cellular level where that information, that nerve impulse to the cell gets there and has to be communicated on a quantum level. And this is the next phase of where glutathione is going to go. And I coined it tonight. I just said it's egophasic and geophasic as the quantum level, how this stuff's going to happen. And I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know this is going to happen. So it's really great. You had so many great speakers tonight. I'm so privileged to say thank you very much for having me on and just being able to recap on a couple of things that really got me that went, yeah, this is some great stuff that was in tonight. And thank you, John, for doing the Zoom Taculars, because I know it helps so many people on so many levels and so many different ways. And every word that somebody says will resonate in a different way that will then create some sort of action or some sort of desire and some sort of way of being able to go out there and tell people about this product, but also about that opportunity if they really want to take hold of that and take hold of their destiny, etc.
Well, thank you, Dr. Jeffrey, and thank you all the speakers today. Just in wrapping up, remember, every Tuesday we have a new podcast, okay? They're on Spotify, Apple, iTunes. Folks, this is all free. Okay, this is my way of giving back to an industry that's been great to me for 38 years and a great way for me to make my living. So it's a way to give back and also for you to hear so many different speakers on so many different topics. If you joined us late, we showed a few minutes of my interview with Mariel Hawley, one of 19 human beings to ever swim the 7 oceans of the world and completed the swims that are assigned to do so. I mean, this is a world famous athlete. She is somebody who is compelling to listen to. She's very, very interesting person. And we've got a lot of other interviews with a lot of other great people, including Foster Owusu, who you heard today, including Giancarlo Torres, who you heard today. In weeks to come, you'll hear from Wally Krelick. You'll hear from a number of different people this week also. Not only Dr. Tracy Jones, who most of you know from Tremendous Leadership, but also Fraser Brooks, who has become the kind of the go-to guy in network marketing with social media. Many of you I know have read his book. So you're going to hear from some of the best and the brightest on those podcasts. So continue to tune in. And by the way, share it with your downlines because, you know, once again, not because it's free. I wish I could charge $1 million for it because the information is that valuable, but because it's there and because of the day and the time that we live in, it's all accessible. It's not about me. I'm just the guy asking the questions. The people answering are giving brilliant answers. And once again, there's a resource for you for free. So, all right, I'm going to turn the call back to Mr. Hooper to say goodbye.
Well, we got a quick question for Dr. Jeffrey. What is non-native EMF?
Non-native EMF is electromagnetic frequencies, and essentially you have to ask this question. Sorry, I got my pages here from all my notes and stuff. How does this communicate to the world? And then you have to say, well, this is actually using microwave technology, is it not? Yes. And so when you put this pocket or put this phone into your back pocket or your front pocket, how can that then affect your physiology? And that microwave signal goes out and in at an enormous rate. I can't remember what it is. It's 0.145. I don't know. I can't remember the actual figure that this sends a signal out and receives a signal. So this is non-native EMF that has an effect on our physiology in the mitochondria, which I've talked about before. But it's not only this, it's also the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is everywhere. We can't get away from it. And that also is part of your non-native EMF. It is not native to life. What is native as EMF is sunlight, natural radiation like radon. We have, particularly down in Cornwall, where they have natural radon, which is an EMF type of radioactive substance. So those are the things that are natural. This is the non-native. This is man-made electromagnetic spectrum, and 5G is even worse than this stuff. So that is what affects us.
So very important to take your Immunical every day, right?
Absolutely, 100%. And I would say take it and then double it, because this is going to get worse.
Absolutely. Well, you know, you got some great information from Dr. Nancy Cellini.
Absolutely.
You know, that was great from her and from John Molson. What they shared with us today is absolutely amazing. And, you know, as we're closing out today's call, I'm thinking of many years ago, and I'm going to give all of you a task. And you can go find on YouTube, Johnny Carson. And he had a guest by the name of George Goebel. George Goebel was known as the thinking man's comedian. And George Goebel, Nancy shaking her head, yes, George Goebel was on there, and George Goebel was always funny.
Yeah.
And Johnny Carson asked George Goebel, how is it that you always feel, how is it that you're always so funny? How is it that you feel like, how is it that you feel funny all the time? George Goebel made the comment, I'm not paid to feel like I'm funny. I'm paid to be funny. You're not paid to feel like sharing this product. You're not paid, you're not going to meet your mission by feeling like you need to share Immunical. You're only going to meet that mission if you share the story of Immunical. That's what Dr. Nancy shared with you, shared with you, all the other people that were here today, what they shared with you is just go out and share it. You don't have to feel like it. You just have to do it. And once you start doing it, it becomes a whole lot easier. Great Zoom Tacular today. Oh, John's got his finger up. John's got it poured away, but we know that wasn't happening.
The power of technology. Tom Oldershaw just reminded me to mention our book club that we have every Thursday night. You can get information on that on my WhatsApp group, which is Leave Nothing to Chance, the name of our last book, okay? Our book club, we've covered Leave Nothing to Chance. And we've covered Tracy Jones's book, Spark. And we've covered now The World's Greatest Salesman. We even had the fella who actually runs the Og Mandino section of The World's Greatest Salesman, my good friend Dan McCormick, future interview. Dan's in the industry, very successful distributor. But Dan actually runs that. We had him last week. And right now we're reading a book by the late, great Jim Rohn called The Seasons of Life, which are metaphors for life. So you can join us every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's something also, and once again, guys, this is all free stuff that you can participate in. And once again, you can get that information from our Leave Nothing to Chance. Now, by the way, you got to be on Facebook, by the way, because Facebook owns WhatsApp. If you're not on Facebook, you can't get to WhatsApp. But if you're on Facebook, you can contact me on WhatsApp, and we'll add you to the group as well. Okay, so once again, you know, book clubs are important. You know, it's all stuff to feed the mind. You feed the mind, it feeds the bank account. Okay, so anyway, that's all I had. We'll see you all next month. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank all of you for being with us. Really appreciate all of you a lot.
Thank you all.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you all and have a nice evening. Thank you. Very powerful information. Thank you.
Glad you were able to join us today. We appreciate all of you very much. By the way, if you want to get the emails, make sure you go to xyztools.com. It's a free resource site as well. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.